Hello and welcome. You have made a fantastic decision. There's a best panel of Republica. We can say this from the start. For the basic reason that it's about what makes Republica the sentence, I know you from the internet. Everybody has said in the last experience in the last few days, we will talk about digital identity in the next few days. My name is Dirk von Giel. I work for Süddeutsche Zeitung. And when I was asked if I want to moderate this panel, I said, you don't need this because the people here are so cool and they can do their panel alone. But this panel, we have to prove this now. So to define identity, digital identity, I did what you usually forbid panelists to Google and read from Wikipedia. I took the first Google page, Google result for every person, and I will read out that this is the digital identity of these 5 people, or if something else is their digital identity. So I will start. It was easy with Professor Dr. Kristina Musholt. For me, this was the University of Leipzig. You're a professor there for philosophy, human biology, and you studied that, and you're professor for cognitive anthropology. Is that right? Applause for Kristina. Kathrin Weßling sits to the on this place. She has a Wikipedia entry. On this Wikipedia entry, it says Kathrin Weßling is a German author. Yeah, wow, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anika Meier sits between these women. Anika Meier, I can't find the Google page. The first Google result, Monopol magazine for art and culture. You're there, a writer there, and curator there, and a blogger. Yeah, that's true too. Google hat recht. Okay. Google is right. Applaus for Anika. Next to me is Rafael Horzon. According to Wikipedia, he's a German entrepreneur and salesman of apple cakes. Is that true? Maybe. You have your own microphone. You can use this. Okay, maybe. It was the most difficult one was Andy Kassier because Google didn't tell me how to pronounce his name. This was the first only preparation we had. Andy Kassier is a man who says the success is only a smile away and gave out money or something looked like money to participants behind the stage. On the first Google result page, you're interviewed on Bento, the magazine run by Rolle, who was on stage before. You're described as an artist. Maybe I slip into art, but sometimes I'm an entrepreneur too. But we can talk about this later. We will find out together what's about this apple cake and what it's about identity and post-internet. So Kristina told me she helps me when I was about finding out about these people. So I also Googled identity, and the first Google result page gave me 3 possible definitions. Kristina will help me with this. Identity is the state that someone is one with themselves. Someone, you wouldn't formulate this at the University of Leipzig, but I can live. Can you live with us? Yes, I can. Second definition is total identity, and so the identity of both documents is proven. That's also a way to do this. And the third one is from psychology. The experience inner unity of a person through which the person is identified within the society. Every tree is true. That we in philosophy we decide between, make all sorts of definitions and distinctions, but the one is the numerical identity. The document, is it the same document? Is it the same object? Or is the psychological question, sometimes called qualitative identity? And what is interesting for me as a philosopher, or what many philosophers who talk about identity, is the question: how can I, even though I experience a lot of change, my body changes a lot, and my personality changes a lot. I'm of course not the same person that I was when I was 3 or 7 or a year ago. How can I still talk about that I'm still somewhat of still the same person? The question is, like, if you show me a picture from when I got into school, and the question is like, this question still makes sense. That if you ask me who I was then, and the question is then, the identity. Yeah, give it over to.
Can the identity of Andy Kassier on Twitter and you sitting there in the chair be brought into agreement? I don't know his Twitter identity, so I don't know. I'm not that much on Instagram, so maybe somebody else can answer it. Can you do this, Andy? Can I bring this? Can I bring these two together? Well, yeah, I would say they overlap. The question is, if they overlap, how different are they? That's a basic question here. So that's a grand question. So give us an answer for in your case. Are you 90% online identity, Andy Kassier, and the one sitting there? I guess that depends on how much you're paying me. So speaking about crowdfunding, it can also be attention as a currency. What would you tell them? We'll answer this question later. Is your online identity, Kathrin, different from you being here now? I think that every of my identities is different from the one now here being on the stage, because this here is very relaxed in front of some hundreds of people and streamed on the internet. But I don't really think that we can differentiate between online me and offline me, and I think it's very anachronistic if you're not an art person. I'm in the internet. I'm not completely as a person than otherwise. So there is the argument that if you look at the Instagram account of Andy, you may play more online than you do offline, maybe. Have you heard the argument before? Yeah, I've heard for I think that you choose some points you prefer over others to show, and I even do this when I wake up, because I don't go out on the streets the same way I wake up. So I put out my clothes and put on makeup, and every person I meet, I show another part of my identity. These are all parts of one identity, are not different identities. And you, Anika, you're not, as a curator, you're responsible for make people, for example, like Andy, understandable. So is he sitting here 100% the same as online as he is now? I don't really know Andy. I really know Andy.
This way.
We've made an exhibition in Düsseldorf, and you had a scarf and white close, and Andy's totally Instagram.
So he cut out Instagram videos from rappers, and I was like, why does this rich kid, what does rich kid want to do here? Because you buy this from him, that he's sort of plays this rich kid, and he does this really well, you have to admit. I want to say that I have never said that every person is their own digital identity. I want art figures or products. I don't believe that a pop star is privately exactly the same, because I think it's silly to make a distinction with normal private person between online and offline identity, because that's very important. That's the second level of this panel, because all of you are working artistically. Rafael, can you please? I don't. Nobody. The other two aren't working artistically either. I can't say anything about my income. Kathrin, are you working as an artist? Yes, I'm an artist. What are you? I'm an entrepreneur. And yes. What do you undertake? What do you do? What's your enterprise? I'm an influencer. You undertake influence. I advertise for products on the internet. Also apple pie, apple cake, but yes, also apple cake, but mainly Knorr products, ready-made soup and cigarettes, Marlboro, and shelves and wardrobes, but also apple cake. Yes, the apple cake it's almost 10 years ago, so over 10 years, like 2007, and I back then, I have to explain this a little. I had a shop for apple cake trade, and you couldn't buy apple cakes there. But if you wanted to become a salesman for apple cakes, you could buy products that you need for apple cakes in order to become an apple cake salesman. So you did empowerment. You empowered people to become an apple cake salesman. Yes, that's well said. What does it say on your Wikipedia page if it's not that important anymore? I didn't write it. I have no idea. Is this Wikipedia's page and important for you as a digital identity or as an influencer? I have never read it, so it was maybe, I don't know. It doesn't play a role for you. No. What is for you and your digital identity the most important channel now? So which way do you live out your digital identity? Instagram. Are there also many other influences? Yes, Facebook. I have did Facebook a couple of years ago, but many years ago. But I don't really like Facebook nowadays, and you don't get many likes there. Suddenly, you don't get many likes. Back then, I got a lot of likes, and then less, and then it wasn't interesting anymore for me. But you get more likes on Instagram? Yes, on Instagram, I get more likes, and maybe it has to do with I'm a verbal person, but maybe I'm a visual person. Or maybe it's the combination of the word and the picture that I handle very good, and Instagram works better with that than Facebook. I don't know why Facebook still exists. I don't understand it. Would you want to get rid of it? Yes. Who is for getting rid of Facebook? That's the majority. You can't see this in the back of the front. You can only see this from the stage. And you're an entrepreneur also? Part-time. You're also on Instagram very active. Are you a visual person like Rafael? Absolutely. I can't read properly. Only because you can do this badly, it doesn't mean that the other is good. Yes, yes, it does. How did you notice that you're a very visual person? I like to look at pictures, and I saw a mirror, and then I noticed it works quite well with myself, and then I tried to market that. You described the idea of Instagram. When did you notice this? Before Instagram, or? I think that it started like 2012, 2013. That it was interesting for me. It was interesting that people around me present themselves in social media, but it's very different from how I experience it in the real world. So I experience them in the real world. So I said, I can do this much better than you. And then I did this. Every people, like all people, like artists, or just your friends? Are you friends? Your friends, just normal people. They have nothing to do with art. Your impression was that their presentation was very much different from what you experienced them, and it's different if you see them riding their bike every day, and then they only post pictures of Porsche, and maybe they want to just hide a part of their identity. It's a big part then. And then you thought, well, if you present yourself like that, then I can do this better. Yes, that's the impulse. Does anybody else of you else of you felt this impulse and to see other people and say, I can do this better? So yes, it's absolutely the same. I'm 100% me on the street, but also on the screen. And with others, with your friends, with other influencers, you get to know them. Do you think that it's also the same or not? With those who I know, yes. I only actually know one other influence. Who is that? Karl Jakob Haupt, the famous influencer. The famous influence. Instead, opposite to the others who are not famous, other influences. How about you, Anika? Are they the same or different? Friends who you're connected with over networks, do they have a discrepancy, or do they present themselves on the social media? Is that the right way? The friends present themselves in the digital sphere? Yeah, they stand in front of a palm tree and pretend they're on holiday. I know this through Andy. I thought I can do this worse, but I don't make much of an effort to present myself this. Myself on Twitter, I'm author, curator, and on Instagram, I don't think that I shouldn't be an influencer, and I don't put much effort in like Andy does, and I put on ugly houses and dogs, but I don't put much of an effort into it. How do ugly houses and dogs work together with author, writer, curator, and I just say this is interesting to me, and I like that others are interested in this, and only with the dogs we can work together. They could get more likes. Anika I'm on Anika on Instagram, like my dogs, and it's not my profession. I like Rafael. I don't want to be an influencer. It's more too exhausting for me. They work a lot on this, but you likes. Yes, I think it's good, and if I like the dogs, then the houses get 1,000 likes and the dogs get only 200, but they're more cute than ugly houses. So they should get more likes. You don't really understand it. Have you made photos with dogs? But I like the idea. But it should be puppies. I look what I encounter on the street, and that's not puppies that often. Kathrin, you need to help me a little. I need to get you from all these different views to build a concept. Can you help me to work on one? Anika says she takes a picture of a dog if she sees them on the street, and present themselves much more. What is the important strategy? Well, I don't know. How should I know this? Anika has more followers than me, so I have no idea. I think everything is interesting. I look at everything, and I look at Anika's dog pictures as much as your numerous South Africa trips. I ask you because you're a social media consultant. Maybe you can give us a tip to become an influencer like Andre and Rafael. What is a good tip? Maybe don't do the same as these two. I don't consult people for exactly this thing. I don't tell these people. I'd rather tell people what they are, how they can make the best out of themselves or their products, and I don't tell people how to become artificial figures. But Adi, you are what you are. You're also product. I think Rafael is even more like that than me. I sell products. I'm not product. I'm a dealer. I'm a salesman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a product. I sell Knorr and cigarettes and furniture. Okay, there's a difference. This is an ironic break of this. Because I was taking away the micro. So you sell products and you are the product? Yeah, well, I ask myself whether everybody on Instagram is their own product. Rafael says no, he sells his own products. You can also say the names you're an influencer for later. Can you help him selling products? Would you think that's a good idea? I take you to the site and so I'm a big fan from furniture shops. I like Knorr soups and Marlboro cigarettes. I think they're great. What products? I wonder which products you're actually selling. Kristina, what are they doing with us? Is it a question of digital identity, or is it a question of public and non-public identities? Maybe or not. It depends on. I would agree to Kathrin that you can't distinguish generally digital or non-digital identity with artificial figures. They break up the concept of this identity, and that's interesting. If you talk about John Doe, who is on social media, around on social media, there's not especially this break. We present ourselves in a certain way, but we do this in the same way that we go outside. We behave differently in a supermarket than we pick up our children from the childcare, and we present ourselves different in the workplace than at home. So it's not about the distinction between online and offline, but it doesn't neither needs to be authentic too. It all can be a part of myself, and we don't have to put ourselves into one drawer there and one box there. Can you separate one from the other? Can you just say there's only one and not the other? Is there? Can you from a scientific standpoint? Can you say? Can you take over your public identity fully and be that person? Well, it depends on how much these people who present themselves publicly influence yourself in your actions and your perception, and you don't necessarily control that. But the question is, how much does each other influence each other? It influence each other. There's the theory of narrative identity in the philosophy, because it's which is quite interesting. Where that basically asks itself how you can be, how can you integrate this, and is there an overall arching identity, or can it fall apart? That's another question.
It's a question scientists ask when it is about the internet and identity. Is it dangerous? Where they play with their identities. Do you see dangers there? I know I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm a philosophist, so I don't know. So philosophically, you don't find it dangerous? No, I don't think so. I find it interesting. Dangerous is a different category. I'd like to look at the topic from a different point of view, which is maybe easier than the digital identities. I would like about Marlene Beckmann, who is the main person of Kathrin's new book. It's a very interesting book, and we'll hold it into the camera later and do ads, and maybe you can influence it for it. And the interesting thing is that you invent a figure who is active in social media, who's a young woman working in the startup scene. How often have you been asked whether that's you? Every time. Yeah, every time I've been asked, how are you? And then I've been asked, am I Marlene Beckmann? Now Marlene Beckmann is for you. I'm speculating something like Andy Kassier. No. What is Marlene Beckmann for you? Marlene Beckmann is something like a symptom for a disease you can't describe without describing the symptom. Marlene Beckmann is a social media person. She's not in a startup, but in an old company, and she's living in a world where it's a world we are talking about the whole time. She's doing a lot of selfies with Hermann Hesse quotes, and she always says that she's very fine and she has a very great friend and everything's great, but actually she's not that fine. And I think that is a symptom of a much deeper lying problem, and the problem is not social media, and the problem is not the internet. I don't know what the problem is yet, but those two aren't. If we look closer at this person in the book, why did you choose this person and not the? Why did you not tell the story from your point of view? Versus, yeah, the book is written from Marlene's point of view. Well, you could have written it as you. Yeah, but first, I think it wouldn't have been so interesting, and second, I think books always works better if you have a protagonist who isn't 100% like you, and Marlene Beckmann is very embarrassing for me often. If I read out loud, I'm very embarrassed about it. So she's in an escalator with another colleague who is very fit, and they're doing a lot of pictures and singing around pictures of kids, and she's saying that you can't understand that she's a mother because she's still looking so good. And so I find it embarrassing, but I think it represents how a lot of young women are. And this helps you to tell a story you couldn't otherwise tell. Yeah, and I think it's more general than just telling from my own boring life. Do you find any parallel to you, Andy? No. Okay. Anika, do you see any parallel between Andy's figure identity Yeah, with Andy, everything's great. He has the best life you can imagine. I always like his pictures very much, and I've interviewed him for Monopol, and I never knew what I can write in the interview, and even today I don't know what I'm allowed to write, so I have to ask him. And the interesting thing about Andy is what is real and what isn't. Is he rich? Is he very poor? How does he get to all these locations? Is he really at these locations, or is he just standing on a palm tree and doing a selfie and it's not really real? I don't know if you know the picture of Andy sitting on a white horse. This could also be Photoshop, but it's real, I guess. Everything's real, no joke. So it's interesting. You have to ask him, but it's of course interesting that you can live a very beautiful life or pretend a very beautiful life without any money. So that's part of being an artist, that you don't really invest any money and still create this work. So Annie uses the word pretend, which I don't agree with. If I am on a white horse, I'm on a fucking white horse. So what's a pretend? So the question is about the money. How much money do you invest? I have a trick I have to grab into my pocket. It's a Bitcoin. You can finance everything with it. So that's how you solve the problem. You'll have a lot of Bitcoins. Here, I have one in my pocket now. Do you have to invest a lot of the money from one Bitcoin to sit on the horse? Is it your horse, or? Here it's about a question about perspective. What is ownership? Is it ownership if you have to give it back afterwards, or if you see me sitting on the horse, it's mine at the moment, isn't it? Say one could say you rented it for the picture. Yeah, maybe. An important question about identity is a name. You told us before that your name is Andy Kassier. Can you explain to us where the name is coming from? Because money is an important part, and you could think that you came up with it because it gives you a lot of money. Yeah, it has a nice coincidence. And my family is from the Huguenots, and my name was written in earlier times with a C, and my family emigrated to Germany, and now my family had to change the name, and now it's pronounced German Kassier and not Kassier. And now my family again emigrated as missionaries to South Africa, and my grandpa came back to Germany at a later time.
Well, so it's always you can always get it from history. Anika earlier on said that shortly that how she got her Instagram handle. Can you historically explain? Like, it doesn't go back to the Huguenots, but I asked, please forget it again. I asked not to talk about it. I think it was many years ago, and I taught at University of Heidelberg, and I worked with. We did a colloquium for bachelor students, and they were like informal to me, and they asked me on Facebook whether we could have a coffee, and they wanted to be a friend. I wanted to be that, but not too much, because I was also the lecturer, and then I wondered how to get out of the situation, and then I wondered how to not get, how to. I chose a pseudonym, and the pseudonym was Gert Pauli, and then Instagram came around, and then I gathered followers, and then said. And for Sunday, I was Gert Pauli, and it wasn't clear for many people that whether I'm a woman or a man, and people weren't. It was a little stupid for me that I was. Then I just asked Instagram whether I could be called Anika, and they said no. And I said, okay, that's okay. People can't just ask for their name. And then I asked another person on Instagram, and he's also said no. Then I said no, it's fine. And then I got a message whether that I could have the name Anika on Instagram. I was a little excited then, but then I said okay. And then I'm Anika. For Dick, people who know me. So people still greet me as Gert, but it's pretty banal. But be careful if you choose a pseudonym. Did anything change for you through the change of the name? I have more followers on Instagram now because the name works better. I think yes, because you can find me. People can more easily find me who are searching for me, and maybe others think that I am Anika, who they know, and I'm not, but maybe I find that. But I can't say about that. But I'm happy that I'm got rid of that name. It was a burden. I wouldn't choose a pseudonym anymore. That's my teaching from that. What would it be if someone else would be called Gerd Pauli? I saved this name on Instagram. I agreed on a time with Instagram that so that nobody else could choose that. We chose a time, and they wrote to me. They said it's now happens now, and then I registered the other and changed the other account name, and some other Instagrammer. Do you know these people on Instagram and who take these photos of themselves in yellow rain jackets? Well, it's one of them, and he had unfriendly friends, and then they mocked him, and they made fun of him, took the old account and made a fake profile, and so I registered that. And don't follow the Gerd Pauli account. There's no dog pictures anymore. Kristina, the name is important for identity, right? Yes, of course. What is important for me is that the identity happens through the interaction with others. It starts when we're really small, but it continues throughout our life, and the name is what people talk to us about, how people talk to us. And the nice thing about the internet is it's not exclusive for the internet, but it's nice. It fits into what we just told. It's a free space that makes a free space possible, where you can break out from the usual roles and patterns that influence you. But it's not possible. It doesn't mean that it's not possible outside the internet. You can also have a different name and identity. It's only more difficult. It's easier on the internet to live out these aspects of your personality or the identity online and present them, and that's easier. Rafael, you as an influencer, would you recommend to others to use the different name online as offline? Yes, it's important for authenticity that you use the absolute same name online as offline. Would you say, how would you describe that someone is authentic? Well, people know me as Rafael Horzon, who says what he means and means what he says, and this authenticity I transport to the internet, and in the way that I keep my name, and with this believability, I can sell my product because it's part of that authenticity. Do you know the phenomenon of the Google ganger? The people who have the same name but who are maybe not that believable. There was other Rafael Horzon on Facebook. I forbid that. How did you forbid that? Well, you can notify and this person has a fake profile. Would you know why someone. I was actually 3 people who called themselves Rafael Horzon, and because everybody wants to be like me, then well, at least 3 people want to be like you. Yes, and they call themselves in order to sell products. Because you can sell products greatly with your name. Yes, with my name. Anika, if you search for your names, Anika Meier, have you been misidentified? But it's yes, I noticed. You don't care. One was very close to me. So she also does these kind of things. She also does things about texts, but then people have to find the right one. Is there another Andy Kassier? No. Would you make sure that he disappears if there was one? Yes, I was very fast. Isn't it the way that you get the red star, that I would like? You mean the blue check mark? It's worth gold. Yes, golden band. If someone says they're me, then I notice I'm, and then I get the blue ribbon. That yes, you have that, right? Yes. I don't have it. We're talking about a verified account on Instagram. Instagram has to notice that you are you. It doesn't mean that you identify yourself. I think it needs to be both needs to be right. How did Instagram find out that you are Andy Kassier? I had international press, because I presented at Saatchi, and then it happened really fast. So Instagram believed it. On Facebook, I don't have a blue check mark. I had to send a birth certificate, and maybe someone is from Instagram and can relieve that. Would you like to have a blue check mark? Yes, I would like to have a blue check mark. If someone's from Instagram or hears this later, Rafael Horzon would like a blue check mark. That would heighten your authenticity. This would, yes, I would get more believability, and I could sell more products. About authenticity, what is your relationship to audience? Do you like to talk to your audience, or would you like the audience to buy your products? I like to talk to my audience. It's important for the believability and authenticity. Would we like to switch over to questions from the audience? Andy, would you is it part of your identity to talk about it with your audience, or do you rather talk to curators and people with a lot of mind? I like everybody. Is it important for you to form an identity in order to get into the... Why do I get this difficult question? Yes, what did you... If you don't like the feedback, then then you shouldn't exhibit yourselves on Instagram. You should say if it's enough if the audience applauds. But yeah, I like that. I would like to have a lot of questions. You talked about the social exchange earlier on. I saw. I saw a sign that we have 15 minutes left, so people can ask a question, but to make this a round thing with the likes, applause for the participants. You can give this applause to confuse myself with identities. Thank you very much.
Here for the Q&A we do it like this. I stand here and everyone who has one question short, comes to me and can ask it. What would be really good is if you could, when you go there, who you are and which identities you have, which Twitter handle, other questions. So I'll ask you something, Rafael. Have you asked a question while you were at the audience. Yeah, I find it inconvenient to have questions I'm not prepared for. It seems like there are some real authentic questions. I'd like to present myself with my digital identity, but I don't have one, so I have a question. Do you have tips for people who don't have a real digital identity, since you're so successful with it? That's a great question, thank you. Andy, I would say that just look at what the other people do and just copy it secretly. Do you have to improve it, or does it matter? Yeah, you can always do it better, but the important part is to not think about it too much, but just start. So look and copy a little bit. What do you have changed? What did you do? Do you have to take a different plant? Or yeah, I think you always learn from the best, and I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and of Rafael and Bruce Lee, who unfortunately does not have social media. Okay, do you have tips if you don't have a digital identity, what you can do? You want to say something? I think you don't need it. I started with it only a year ago, and I'll end with it in 1 month because Facebook was just shut down. Yeah, you don't need it, and you don't need Instagram, and you should just go aside, and that's good enough. I hope this helps you with your digital identity. There's a second question. Yeah, hello. I think I represent many people in the audience who didn't know you before. And it seems to me that everything here is very, very ironic, and I don't know whether you really like this or whether you're playing a character. My question is, could you raise your hand if you're a character, and don't do it if you really like this? Okay, thank you for your question. Maybe you raise the hand later at the end. He's questioning your authenticity. How does it feel? Yeah, well, I don't really care. I already mentioned that, or already explained, and so I'm confused that a question comes up again. So I always direct everything at me. So in my case, it's, as I already mentioned, it's the same as the me I am and the me I'm in the internet. So it's the same. So if we raise the hands at the end, you wouldn't say that you're a character. We can talk about it later, and then you'll see that I'm exactly like I'm here now, and exactly like I'm on the internet. Do you want to tell where you raise your hands? Andy, are you a character? Of course not. But I brought stickers with me. So there are banknotes with my face on it. You can come and get it. Okay, maybe that's a hint. You can think about how many other people have money with their face on it. Do you see them as characters? Yeah, I don't know them any different. I think they're real like this. And I know myself just the way I am. Are you a character? I don't know yet. I'll think about it in the next 10 minutes. I think that the question's very funny, but also and also it's irrelevant. It's becoming funnier the more often I repeat it. Kristina? I don't know. Aren't we? What is a character? I think we are all kind of characters. She says that it's someone who is different on the internet than in real life. I think that isn't true for any of us. So you're presenting yourself on the internet like you're here now. Yeah, I don't present myself on the internet very much, especially compared to the others here. So your official site hosted by the university is the one you find first with Google, and the others have other sites. Here I direct what's on the site of the university, but I don't have an internet presence like the others. So I'm afraid you already left again, but I think your question wasn't really answered. Is it true?
Okay.
I still don't know if he's still unsure whether it was ironic or not. Totally secret, me too. Is there anybody with another question? Audience would be you, so you can pretend to be an audience and ask an audience question. So what would also work well is, do you have a question for the audience? Do you follow us on maybe one after another? I already finished. Do you already follow us on Instagram? And especially Andy, he needs a few more followers. Andy Kassier. Rafael is already successful enough. So you can follow him, and maybe, and I think on Instagram you will find an answer for your question. What's your question for the audience, Rafael? I don't have a question. There is a question.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Grimblefix. I have a question. How much interaction do you have with followers? How strong is the interaction? Well, there is no content which I really like. How much interaction is there between you, your followers, and you, or are the followers just look at what you post on the internet, or are there really persons who try to interact with you on the same niveau and the same level? I don't know you at all, I have to say. I don't have Instagram. So the question will answer your Grimblefix. Yeah. Andy, would you like to start? For everyone who's on Instagram and Facebook, I answer every question I get personally and comment back. May I ask how many interactions there are per day? I think like 100% a day. That's great. Can I get your money before everybody else goes to you? Yeah, you can. Be fast and come to me. How is it with you, Kathrin? How many interactions do you have? I don't really know what he is meant by what he means by this. I do a lot of Instagram stories where people respond, and people who, if I say something mean, I have a lot of interaction. If I say something normal, it's a few. It's very different. It depends. And now that the book just came out, there are a lot of interactions, and you actually do it just for the interactions. And I'm very happy, of course, if there are a lot of interactions, and I'm sad if there are none. Do you just listen to a voicemail and WhatsApp? I've just been FaceTimed. Sorry. It's nice that you didn't answer. Do you also answer all your Instagram interaction personally? Yeah, of course. Who else would do it? So, Anika, how much interactions do you have? I'm an author, a curator, and I just have had an exhibition at the Bildender Kunstmuseum in Leipzig, and the interaction went up because of this, and they always write that they like the exhibition, and now the book comes to the exhibition, and the people are even happier, and I'm happier that people are happy, and then we are happy together. And on the Instagram, I show I photograph brutalism on Instagram, and I think a lot of people who follow me who also like this.
Brutalism.
And if they like a house and whether a house is, I was in Paris in a brutalism tour, and I've seen all the brutalism in and around Paris, and there have been a lot of questions because there were houses by architects who were never seen before in Instagram, and then you have a lot of interactions, and if I pass the dog, nobody wants to know anything about me, but I also respond to everything, and Twitter is more professionally, but I also answer everything there too. I don't know whether questions about how many hours I spend with it. Yes, yeah, that's why it's hard. Yeah, I think we all do it kind of professionally, so it's part of the job. And if I write about art and social media, I also have to spend more time while I do all this. And major part of the interaction is not about WhatsApp, but about Instagram. And I also spend more time on Instagram this way. So, by the way, I respond to the interactions. So, Rafael, how's it for you? Do you respond for all the interactions? Yeah, I did it in the beginning, but at the moment I was happy at the beginning, but of course, before when I was earlier than I'm now, younger than I'm now, you went outside, and it was very difficult to meet people this way. And now I can just do it with one mouse click. You're still using a mouse. Because people are contacting me all the time who want to meet me, but now I don't really have time for it anymore. So don't be angry if I don't respond to everything immediately. So we are thankful that you're still with us today and respond. This question is specifically directed to Andy. Can you finance your life with the way you present yourself on Instagram? Can you use it to actually finance your actual real life? Yeah, of course. Obviously, I can't show you my business model, and I also already showed you Bitcoin, so I think this has to be enough, unfortunately. May I also have a banknote? We speed up the question round, and afterwards you can have the money. So I found the question, if you have a lot of money, can you live with it, as a nice final question for this panel, because it's a nice summary for the question, what is character and identity, because we're at the end of the time and we have a lot of questions about the character. I want to have some final words from you. I'd like to present this new cigarettes. A lot of you won't know. It's a Marlboro cigarette with two caps, and if you press on one, you get menthol cigarette, and if you press on the red one, you get a cranberry taste. And you can smoke the cigarettes with all the caps, and then it's a normal cigarettes, or you can have cranberry or menthol or both of those. Yeah, that's my final word. Would you like to speak about something? Thank you. I agree with us. Thanks for your attention, and have a nice evening.